The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
This is Market Snapshot with Dan French from Nova Home Loans with the latest information about home loans in Las Vegas. Now, here's Dan French.
Welcome to the Market Snapshot. This is Dan French from Nova Home Loans, and I'm today with my co-host, Chakits Krulsawat from Simply Vegas. What's going on today, Chuck?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We also have a special guest, Richard Cummins from Associated Inspectors. Richard, how's your day going? How's Sunday going?
Great. Great, Dan.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on to the show. We have a great show for you guys today. And as always, Chuck, we say this every single week. It's a privilege and a pleasure to educate the Las Vegas community. What do you think about that, Chuck?
You're absolutely right. I mean, we do this 7 days a week. It's a Sunday. We don't have to be here. We could be at the pool, sipping on some drinks, checking out some ladies, but we're here. Cocktails. That's right.
News and events. Let's educate some people out there. What's going on with that?
You want to start it off or you want me to hit it off?
You hit it off today.
Events. Residents looking to meet the mayor, Caroline G. Goodman. If you want to meet her, there's an opportunity here.
Wow.
This week, Thursday, June 11th, at Dougie's G's Cafe, located at 603 South Las Vegas Boulevard.
Did you say Dougie's?
Dougie's.
Doug's not going to be there, is he?
I don't know. Now, check this out. This event will be held in Ward 3 with Councilman Bob Kaufman, so he'll be there attending as well.
Perfect.
So if you have any questions or concerns regarding, the Las Vegas Valley, show up. Also, we have a special guest that will be there, is co-host Chakits with Simply Vegas. If you guys want some autographs, I'll be there.
How long are you signing for?
About 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. So,
what you got going on?
Oh, well, we got the Las Vegas Outlaws versus the Cleveland Gladiators today. Did you know this?
No.
Yeah. Going on over at the Thomas and Mack at 2 o'clock.
Is that baseball or what is that?
I think it's a crowd. I think it's like a background.
No. Is that a baseball team or a football team? What is that?
That's an arena football league.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Come on, Chuck.
I don't watch football.
It's Sunday, man.
I watch real estate.
Okay.
That's what I do.
That's a good recovery. Also, we're going to jump over to some housing news. Did you know that Southern Nevadans made an average down payment on homes this current year? It's up 13.3% of home purchases in the first quarter this year. And what's going on is that the average down payment that's being put on homes is actually, it's down from last quarter. Meaning that they're putting less money down. Mm-hmm. And when you put less money down, it allows you to have more opportunity to get into a home.
Yeah.
And so it's down just slightly from last quarter, and people are now putting less money down to get into homes, which means that there's flexibility in the financing field, if you want to say, or in the financing for banks. There's flexibility, and there's options now that maybe we couldn't approve some people last year. Well, when I run them through our system, now we can get them approved, and I think that's a good thing because now it's opening doors for people that want to get, maybe a less down payment, maybe have an opportunity to finally become a homeowner.
So that sounds like more first-time homeowners are buying. Is that correct?
Well, it's just in general. I mean, you look at it overall, and it's like, well, what is my obligations for down payment? Mm-hmm. And if you look at it, then say, well, it's 5%.
Yeah.
People are taking advantage of that 5% because they know that they can leverage their money possibly. Mm-hmm. Also, the 20% people that were here that maybe investors and people that were putting those large down payments to get into homes. We have a high volume of homes still out on the market, correct?
Correct.
So you're not having to put down and compete against everybody that's out there. So
you're
I think,
right.
Yeah, so when you're putting the 5% down, you might have a chance now where before maybe last year you didn't.
Yeah.
So also changes to final closing disclosure. And I want everybody to understand that in August 1st, 2015, there's going to be a change that's going to require me as a lender to provide what's called a loan closing disclosure.
Yep.
that provides 3 days prior to closing. Okay, you have the ability as a consumer to look at your overall closing disclosure and see if there's an opportunity that you might want to say, hey, I want something changed, or I'm not comfortable with coming in with this down payment or the total closing costs, whatever it is. Now, what's important about this is that there's a 3-day additional extension, if you want to say, or requirement that you have to provide to the client if 3 things change. One of them is if your APR changes over a certain amount.
Yes.
The other thing is if you have a prepayment penalty. And then the other thing is that if you go from, let's say, from an adjustable rate to a fixed rate, these things will require you to have those extra 3 days. So let's say you're in day 2 of reviewing it, and then you had a change to whatever went on with the program or whatever loan program you have. Now you have the additional 3 days from that point.
Wow.
To review that as well. So those 3, but you know what? I think with that, there's only one thing that would really come out here that I would really say that this is going to be a consistency, and that's going to be if it goes from like a different program, like a adjustable rate to a fixed.
Yeah.
Because that's when I'm going to say, you know what, my company has to redisclose at that point. But because the other 2, we don't have a prepayment penalty at Nova Home Loans.
Yeah.
I never give those out, and our APR or adjustments on those, it's very minute when it comes to title, where I have to say, there's an issue with the APR and it's increased enough where I have to redisclose it. Usually that's worked out by the time it gets the title.
Also, for the listeners out there, time is a factor here because it's going to eat up 3 days. So what I want to do to mention is that what I'm going to implement at this time is once we go under contract, instead of asking for 35 days, we're going to be asking for 38 days. So that way we can buy the lender that extra time, and also the listeners out there as well.
Very good point, Chuck. Also, we have the Supreme Court hands defeat to struggling homeowners. I seen this in the paper, and it's kind of a crazy situation. Homeowners that were underwater who filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy protection are still going to be on the hook for secondary loans tied to their properties. The Supreme Court ruled on Monday. This was a 9-0 decision. This was a unanimous decision.
Is this from here on out, or?
Well, it could be. This is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that, when you go to court, people are judges now and people that are in the court system are looking at the idea that, you know what, you had the ability to pay that back, and there's no reason why you couldn't pay it back. They looked at it 9-0 in the decision, and now it's looking at the idea that you're going to either have to, take care of it through some legality format.
Just file for 13.
I don't know if that's going to work.
I don't know.
So let's go right into the housing or the market rundown. Let's go into the market rundown. Are you ready for this, Chuck?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So as always, we start off with the show with housing market statistics. We go over interest rates trending. We're going to talk to Richard Cummins from Associated Inspectors. We're always going to go into we're going to go into new home versus existing home, and Chuck's going to go over what are buyers' rights. I'm also going to talk with Chuck here on the lender versus realtor market face-off. Are you ready for this, Chuck?
I'm always ready. Let's get it handled.
If you have any questions regarding the show, financing or real estate, give us a call in studio, 257-5396. You can also schedule a free 30-minute consultation by calling 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA. You can always go to my Twitter account. You can tweet me with a question at 781-NOVA. Or you can go to our website. Chuck, what's going on with our website?
781-NOVA. We have an archives of educational videos there as well. And also, we are filming live now. So if you miss this content, jump on our website and you can watch us as well.
Perfect. Also, we only give free things. There's certain things we give to this show. And the 2 things that we consistently harp on through this show is we give a free appraisal and a free home inspection.
Free.
That's a lot of value, and I'm going to tell you, upwards around the $800 to $900 range. We're giving some of these clients that come to us and needing financing or real estate, we're giving back to them, and I think that's a huge incentive. 1, to call in, and 2, just to see if we can get you approved or get you something that maybe you're looking for in the market.
We have helped a lot of people that came in with the down payment assistant program. Not only that, I was able to ask for closing costs. You pay for the appraisal. I pay for the inspection. They literally got into home in less than $1,200.
That's cheap.
That's big.
Also, I'm going to give away to the first caller that calls into this show. All right? Try to call in with a legitimate question. I'm going to give a gift card for 2 to P.F. Chang's. It's going to be a lunch for 2 to P.F. Chang's. It's a little complimentary thing that we're going to give here on the show. And let's go right into the housing market, Chuck. What's going on with the housing market?
Housing market. This is where we bring it play-by-play, week to week. All data was pulled from the multiple listing service. We're going to start off with the condominiums. Listings declined by 1.7%. Sales has also declined by 39.4%. So that was a pretty dramatic change. But remember, this is week by week, though. Okay.
Right.
In addition to that, Since June 6th, we actually have a total of 1,148 condos currently listed on the market for sale. 87% are actually traditional sales, 8% are short sales, 5% are actually bank-owned properties. Condos for rents, we have seen a spike in lease agreements by 23.2%.
Wow.
Condos are actually the second most desirable rentals in the market today. Overall inventory has declined by 7.6%. Home sales has also declined by 23.2%. Okay. Overall inventory, according to the multiple listings service, as of yesterday, we have a total of 9,725 properties currently listed. 86.7 are traditional sales, 9.8 are short sales, 3.4% are actually bank-owned properties. The overall inventory has increased by 6%. Okay. In addition to a 23% in lease agreements that have been executed. Okay.
Gotcha.
Now, what's going on with the interest rates?
Well, I want to say one thing, and I say this last week, and I want to say, what is our month supply of properties right now?
We're looking at about an 8-month supply, but if we're just doing it off the MLS, we're probably looking around anywhere from 4 to 5.
Okay. And are you having where you have high success in the 30-day range or less, getting somebody into a property right now with all the statistics you just gave to us?
That really depends on the price point that we're looking at and also the location. Now, just to give you a general idea, if you're looking out in the Summerlin area or the south side of town, the price per square foot is a little bit higher because of the location and the demand. The lower that you go on the price, the harder it is to get into those type of deals. But those type of homes will sell less than 30 days if priced correctly in today's market.
So I'm going to tell you what's going on with interest rates.
Let's hear it.
You ready?
It's gone up.
No.
Good.
It's gone up. Mortgage bond prices finished the week sharply lower. The data was stronger than expected and not rate friendly. The ADP payroll report showed the economy added 201,000 private sector jobs in May versus the expected 215. Weekly jobless claims printed a 276, and continuing claims, a summation of all receiving benefits, at 2,196. So economics expectations were for claims to print at 280 unemployment. Now, the stronger than expected employment report Friday morning added to the rate increases. So we actually increased rates about a quarter of a point worse. And I'm telling you, everybody, we gained a little bit of pricing last week, but I knew it was temporary. And I knew that this was going to be something that people are going to say, well, it's going to go back to the other direction for a little bit of, a period of time. That's not the case. The case is it's slowly going up, and it's a trend. It's a progression. Really, since the beginning of the year, rates have gone up. And I think we're about maybe a point and a quarter since the beginning of February, because that's when that really started to spike up. So you really got to look at the idea. If you're looking to refinance, it's not going to make sense for everybody.
Yeah.
But you're at a point now where it's a case-by-case situation. You really need to get on the horn and try to find contact us outside studio at 781-6682 to find out and see if there's even makes sense at this point.
And there's no cost to it, right?
There's no cost, but here's the thing. Not only is there no cost, but at least you're getting educated. You know if you can or can't do something. And you know what? That in itself is worth that phone call.
And that makes sense.
Let's go right over to introduce Richard Cummins from Associated Inspectors.
Glad to be here.
What's going on, Richard?
Oh, lovely morning, isn't it?
It is. I appreciate you coming on this show. Wanted to tell you,
thank you.
Richard's a guy that he sounds like a hardworking gentleman. And how did you get into home inspecting?
Family's been in construction for years. Masonry, concrete, electrical, plumbing. We just grow up with it.
Okay. So it's been in your bloodline.
It seems like it.
All right. Passed on generation to generation.
50 years or more.
I trust you.
Thank you.
So if you looked at anybody that wants to, can anybody out there get a home inspection? And is this a requirement?
can get a home inspection?
Yeah, can they do a home inspection? Can they do a home inspection?
Oh, the home inspector? No, not just anybody. I mean, they used to be your uncle, your cousin come out and looked at your house when you're buying it. But today, the state of Nevada has a licensing program.
Okay.
You got to be licensed, certified, insured. It's ran through the real estate division. It's called Inspector Structures.
Objection. I want to object really quickly.
Whoa.
Really quickly, I do want to let you guys know that here's the thing. A buyer does have a right to have a home inspection if they choose to or they choose not to. Okay. Sometimes they will choose not to. And sometimes what I've noticed is they'll inspect it themselves. But if they choose to, they're going to have to waive their rights to move forward with the deal.
So they walk into a house sometimes and there's no roof. I'm just playing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sometimes there's not. Or a lot of holes
as long as you're getting a good deal.
Hey, you can get a suntan and be at home at the same time. What do you think about that?
That's cool.
All right. So what does your inspections cover, Richard?
Well, the state has a standard of practice that we have to go by. And in those standards are the site, the foundations, the roof, electrical, plumbing, foundations, pretty much covers the inside and outside of the house. We inspect swimming pools also that aren't covered in those standards.
So that sounds like those are the main components to a home. Okay.
Also, they call it structural and mechanical.
Got it.
Structural and mechanical. Okay. So, how long have you been practicing in home inspection profession, and how many inspections have you completed, Richard?
Well, I've been in the business 18 years of just strictly full-time inspections.
Wow.
I've done over 10,000 inspections.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You put your time in.
Yeah, I have. And
that's like $300 and something thousand, isn't it?
Come on, Chuck. You're always thinking about dollars, man. We're talking about home inspection, all right?
Always in it for the money.
What's the return on the investment? I'm just playing. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's very good, actually. No complaints. I'm still here.
So go ahead. You've been in 18 years. You've seen everything. What's one of the craziest things you've seen when you're inspecting a home? Like, what's one of the biggest hurdles you had to come over?
Well, I don't know about a hurdle, but one of the craziest things I saw is last year I did a house in Henderson, and it had a sewer manhole cover in the backyard.
Wow.
I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
But the city had ran down the hill and they hit a ravine, so they ran it through the backyard and back out to the street.
So there was actually an easement on there.
But nobody knew about the easement.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, until we discovered it. And
that's a huge deal.
No, it is.
Yeah, it was huge because he wanted to put a pool and a guest house back there. He wouldn't have been able to. So it was unique. It's.
So you are specifically experienced in residential inspections only. You don't do any other.
No, we do commercial.
You do commercial too. Okay.
Yes.
So, and explain to us on the commercial side what's involved with that typically. Like, what is different between the residential and the commercial side of it?
Well, the basics I discussed on the residential side is the same for resident.
It's all the
commercial,
same.
Except you got fire sprinkler systems, you got ADA mandatory stuff for bathrooms and walkways. The roofing is very, very important to commercial investors. Air conditioning systems can be much larger than the 5-ton units on maximum on residential. So you have 10 or 20 ton units up there.
Right.
We bring in specialized technicians to do that.
Okay. So now let me ask you this. Once the home inspection has been conducted, do you provide a report to the buyers?
Absolutely. You have to. That's part of the standards too. You have to provide something in writing.
Right.
Ours are a narrative report. We choose that rather than just a checklist. And all the narratives have photos. We have 100 or plus photos.
So it's really broken down for the buyer to see exactly what's going on. Okay.
There's a summary for all the things that should be addressed.
Right.
Safety issues and things that are broken. Not so much the cosmetic stuff, but you give a summary. Most of the agents read the summary and forget the whole gist of the report. But it's usually about 30 pages long.
Gotcha.
And it's emailable, so everybody gets a copy.
And I'll tell you, Chuck and I, we put together where when we have clients together, we always try to have that inspection done before the appraisal. Because if you don't do that, especially if there's a problem with the property, like if you come in and there's pretty much a walk-in type home, it's a turnkey, then you're good. I mean, typically we don't have to worry about it. But I would say a good portion of the properties out there, they're not like that. So what Chuck and I put together is that, well, let's do the home inspection first, because it's not a requirement. But you know what? If the client finds something that's wrong with that house, they're not out that appraisal money either.
We're saving you money this way.
Right.
Correct.
And it's actually a good strategy, and it's a good way to align things when you're going through the loan process. So, you know, and I don't know what your experiences are.
Both ways. Some people want to know if it appraises before they do the inspection. The buyers usually, real estate agents usually do the direction you're suggesting, get the inspection
I
done.
think it's smarter that way, just because the appraisal is quite a bit more. It's double the cost typically of what a home inspection
and
is.
we have an obligation. We want to save you money. It's at the end of the day, we just don't want to sell you one home and that's it. We want to earn your business from here on out.
And you got to realize too, the inspector's really out for you as a client, where the appraiser's out. They're out for the client, but they're out for the bank too, because they're going to say, you know what, we just want to see if it's marketable. The bank's going to come in and say, you know, hey, there's something on the appraisal that we need either fixed or something needs to be addressed. Where the home inspection, you're really, you're directly with that client, telling them, look, this is a problem. This is something that needs to be fixed.
Yes.
Where the appraiser, they just go out and do their thing, and they don't really have any contact with the client.
Dan, let me ask you this. How often does your underwriter will actually ask for the inspection report?
I would say they don't ever ask for it because they have the appraisal. And you know what? On the appraisal, it's always subject to as far as what needs to be taken care of. So it's never an issue. So having that home inspection in your hand, knowing that there might be issues with the property that you purchased, is always beneficial to anybody out there. And it really is.
And it's money well spent.
Well, it's strength to you, because you know what? You have something that says, you know what, maybe I don't want to get into this property. Maybe there is a huge issue. Maybe there's mold maybe the appraiser would miss. Who knows? You know, I told you I had one time through a situation, I had somebody come in and they painted over the mold in a house with paint. And they thought that the home inspector wasn't going to find that. Yeah. And, the funny part of it is
3 days it's going to show up.
Yeah. And it's, they found it and they were like, I'm backing out of this property. And you know what? Who says that the appraiser wouldn't have found it? I'm not saying that they wouldn't. Yeah. But it's always good to have an inspector go in and maybe look at things that's going on with the property, making sure that it's checked out, especially for financing, before you say, we're going to push forward and move forward.
Well, an inspector will go into a home, and he's going to go places where other people don't.
Right.
Inside the electrical panel, where people do modifications. In the attic, nobody's going up in the attic.
Right.
I'll go up there, and you can find just pigeons nesting up there, or rat issues.
Yeah.
That have been
people making homes up there.
And I do want to mention, when you do have a home inspection, you're always going to find things that are wrong with the property, because code constantly changes. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It's constantly changing,
Every year, something changes.
So let's say you go through the house, right?
Yes.
Let's say you find a problem with the property. Do you come back to the client and say, hey, I'm going to help you repair that?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Okay, so what is your role from that?
Well, under the state statutes, that's what they call a prohibitive act. And we're not allowed to fix anything that we find at the property.
Okay.
And so
you just give them notice.
Yeah. These things exist.
Right.
We don't tell them what has to be fixed, or, it's just this exists. You can choose to fix it, or it's negotiable. It's a tool.
Okay, and I got one other question. We're probably going to jump to break after this.
Okay.
How long does your inspections take? Like, if you said, you know what, I have a property that is, 6 bedrooms, 4 bath, versus let's say a 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath, something like that. The property, does it change obviously for time frame, right?
Yeah, square footage is basically what we base it on. So if you got a 3,200 square foot house, it's going to take 3.5 hours. And if it's got a pool, it's another half hour. But usually about an hour per 1,000 square feet.
Okay, so you can get in there, you can look at the property, and then what's the biggest house you've inspected?
24,000 square feet.
Wow, that's big. How long did that take?
3 days.
Was that your house?
With the crew.
Wow.
But in commercial buildings, you got 100,000, 300,000 square feet.
Wow.
So that,
all right.
Some effort. Usually they're large warehouses. So
perfect. So, when we talk about inspectors, and I told you that, when they're out there, and we talked about, is it mandated for a client to get an inspector?
No,
it's not.
No, I believe it's for the realtor. They have to recommend and they sign a form they choose to or not choose to.
You're absolutely correct, and that's what we talked about, earlier. And also, I do want to mention, when the report comes back, the agent will take a look at the report, and if there's something that's alarming or there's something that the buyer wants, we can negotiate at that point, with the seller. And if the seller doesn't accept, we can cancel out and receive the earnest money deposit back.
Yeah, this is the biggest investment a single middle-class person is going to make. So why not get an inspection? 99.9% of them loans that I've done, there's not one that I don't know that did not have an inspection put on there.
It's money well spent. You don't want to buy a lemon.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you figure a 1980 house. When you go to buy a 1980 car, it's got wear and tear on it, just like a house.
Yeah. So, like, when you say, is there a certain time frame where you see that there's a drop off? Like, let's say year of home. Is there a certain year of home where you just like, wow, this has really started to deteriorate?
Well, they're more challenging after 1978. And that's where a lot of the building codes change for no more asbestos, no more lead-based paints.
You're absolutely right, because when I start dealing with homes around the 1940s, we want to request to have a cast iron plumbing to go down.
We got a whole lot of show left. This is Dan French with the Market Snapshot. We'll be right back.
AP Update. I'm Ed Donahue. 2 convicted murderers have not been found yet in upstate New York. They escaped yesterday from a maximum security prison in Dannemora, New York, not far from the Canadian border. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says the public's help is needed.
The state today will offer a $100,000 reward for the apprehension or arrest of the 2 escapees.
Convicted murderers Richard Matt and David Sweat used power tools to cut into steam pipes to make their way to freedom yesterday. Governor Cuomo is asking people throughout the state of New York to be on the lookout for the 2 men.
There's been a significant amount of time that has elapsed, so there's a good possibility that they are no longer in just the surroundings of the prison, but they could be anywhere in the state.
The prison is located about 20 miles from the Canadian border. AP Update. I'm Ed Donahue.
More live local talk than any station in Las Vegas. News Talk 720 KDWN. The most complete and accurate world, national, and local news coverage. Weekday mornings from 5 to 9 a.m. with award-winning news anchor John Schaefer. Then AP News at the top and bottom of every hour throughout the day. News, traffic, and the best talk you can find in Las Vegas. Lock into News Talk 720 KDWN, where locals come to talk.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tia Mathis, Director of Diversity and High Needs Areas for the Clark County School District, and we are calling all heroes to Clark County. We are recruiting highly qualified individuals to come and teach for us. If you are interested, or if you know anybody interested in coming to our district to teach for our students, please have them visit our website, teach.vegas, today.
Purchasing your first home or refinancing your current home are all major financial decisions that necessitate having the right person on your side. Dan French at Nova Home Loans will work with you from day one to make sure the process is as easy as possible. Contact Dan French today at danfrenchnova.com, or you can call me directly at 702-216-3907. And to learn more about home financing, please make sure to tune into the Market Snapshot every Sunday from 12 to 1 p.m. to find out all the information that's going on in financing and real estate.
NMLS number 369-115. Broker number 0902429.
Welcome back to the Market Snapshot. This is Dan French from Nova Home Loans. And again, I'm here with Chakits Krulsawat from Simply Vegas. What's going on today, Chuck?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Doing great. Richard Cummins, what's going on, man?
Oh, wonderful.
All right.
Great day.
So we talked to Richard a little bit about why it's important to have home inspections and what he's done in his experience. And I want to go right back into it. We have a few more questions for Richard before he leaves here. Richard, you know, we talked about square footage. We talked about other things pertaining to home inspections. What is the cost for somebody that's getting into trying to get a home inspection? What does it start out at?
Well, for condos, they're usually around $200, smaller ones.
Right.
You know, because we don't do the community property stuff, the roof and the grounds.
Right.
Usually a single-family home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, is around $300.
Okay.
And I know I'm not the least expensive in town, but you get what you pay for.
That's exactly right. I like that comment. So if you, what type of home inspection report do you provide? Let's say if a client's asking for a report, which they get, is there different types of reports that you provide to them, or is it just one report typically?
Well, there's one report, but it's got 2 sections. It's got the summary with, but everything in the summary is within the full report.
Okay.
The full report has photos of everything that we find, that's negative as well as the positive stuff.
Let me ask you this, Richard.
Yeah.
What is the one most common thing when you do a home inspection that you typically see?
Water issues.
Okay.
And that's probably what most people are concerned about.
Is it like from the sink underneath, or
yeah, under the sinks? It's where people don't go and don't see. It's leaking under the sink for some reason or another, and it's dripping and it's possibly creating mold at some point. But the bathroom, kitchen sinks are notorious for damage.
Okay. All right. So who's able to attend these? I mean, is the client really able to attend them while you're doing them? The real estate agent? I mean, the lender's not going to go out there if they do need financing to say, hey, is this home inspection going to, is it going to work out?
I mean, it varies. If a home is occupied, sometimes the occupant's there. But if they're vacant, sometimes the realtor and the client will be there, or sometimes just the client will be there.
And that's something that I recommend is as far as the client to go out there, and I'll go out there with the client as well, because if there's any issue, then that buyer can go ahead and ask that inspector, and he can show that buyer, hey, this is exactly what's going on, versus having it on a piece of paper.
Yeah, we actually recommend the buyer show up.
Good.
And not so much through the whole inspection. You just say we're going to be there 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
Right.
He doesn't want to waste his time, but he needs to be there a half hour before we get done. So I want to know any of his concerns that he may have about the property.
Gotcha.
And I want him to understand what we find and show and tell and walk the property.
Well, let me ask you this, Richard. What do you do with the people that go to the inspection but hover over you? When you go all over the place.
Oh, yeah. We go up on the roof. They're in the attic.
We get a few of those sometimes.
Yeah,
Like, I'll back up a little bit. Let him do his job so that way we can get it done efficiently.
There is a process that we get into, and if we get interrupted a lot by somebody shadowing you, it interrupts the process, and it gives possibly you might miss something. Because
I hear you.
You come over here and look at this, come look at that, and it interrupts the process. So,
I gotcha. So maintaining membership in a professional home inspector association. Now,
we recommend that for all.
Everybody you work with, or does anybody work underneath you? Or you?
I have 4 people that work with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Highly trained and associations. ASHI is probably the oldest association in the country. It's American Society of Home Inspectors, and I'm a ASHI certified member.
Oh, good.
InterNACHI came in a little bit later. I'm a certified master with them. And local association, those are national associations. We have a local group, Southern Nevada Association of Professional Property Inspectors.
So is this something that's required, or?
No.
Okay.
No, this is not, but I would recommend it. If you're going to ask for a home inspection, what is your inspector's qualifications? And
it's funny because as a lender, you're supposed to renew. It's called continuing education.
Correct.
Every single year, and I do that every year. You have to, because there's so many changes that go on in the financing world. I'm sure there's a lot of changes that go on in the home inspection world as well. Yeah. Do you do a lot of continuing education courses?
The state requires that we do 20 hours every 2 years. So that's only like 10 hours a year. But with all my memberships that I have, I got over 100 hours every time I go to renew.
Yeah.
It's just.
So do they give you a credit back?
No, no carryover.
No carryovers.
ASHI does. ASHI has a little carryover,
yeah, but
not the state.
You need to take that to your accountant.
Yeah, right. It's all a write-off.
Also, let me say this, okay, Richard. First off, again, thank you for coming on to the show. If somebody, you're accessible, correct?
Always, 7 days.
7 days. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, is there a certain website or is there a way to get a hold of you, that they can get this information or have somebody assign a home inspection through you? Do you have something they can get a hold of you with?
Our website, www.associatedinspectors.com.
All right.
You can actually order an inspection online, or our phone number is 702-255-0000. 5504.
And we will also have that link on 781nova.com.
Perfect. So, Richard, thank you again for coming on to the show. We appreciate all the good education and information you provided to our audience. And we'll have you back here at some point, okay?
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right. Richard Cummins from Associated Inspectors. If you guys have any questions regarding this show, you can call in studio 257-5396. Again, you can schedule a free 30-minute consultation by calling 781-NOVA. That's 6682. If you want to tweet me, you can go to my Twitter account. You can go to 781-NOVA, and you can also go to our website. And, Chuck, I really want to push this website. You put a lot of work into this. We're going to put a lot of past shows and a lot of past people that have been on the show. Tell us about it.
We have a segment called Take Notes. It's a library of educational videos of real estate professionals in the industry, and they're about 1-minute clips, so it's a lot of great content. Okay. Also, what we have on there is the market status, where basically if you want to see what's going on within the marketplace week by week, we break it down from condos, single-family residence, duplexes, and triplexes. A lot of investors will go to this page to get accurate information on what's going on now and today.
Understandable. Also, we're going to talk about the new home versus existing home, and I think this is very important. I think that there's a lot of people out there strongly considering buying a new home, and really there's nothing wrong with it. You got to understand, you know, when you look at the overall picture of buying a new home, you're going to be paying more unless you stay in that property for a long period of time. And what I want to tell you is that, you know, buyers, what they don't want is they don't want to have any maintenance. You know, they want to get into something that is pretty much move-in ready, and it's taking, you know, everything's taken care of on these properties. And I think there's a lot of times they overlook some existing properties that might be really a diamond in the rough. You know, you got something out there that might only need a few things fixed. You're not going to ever get that ideal home. Okay?
You're absolutely right. And that's why when clients go out and look at properties, they get so emotionally attached. What they do is they look at the seller's possession, also like the color on the wall. And that's why I always advise them, hey, let's see past that. Let's look at the structure of the property, because even though it's a brand new home and it's painted completely white, as soon as you move in, you're going to paint it anyway.
And you got to look at this. You can save a significant amount of money over the long period of having that loan or that home.
Yes.
If you buy an existing home. And I'm going to tell you that it's not something to shy away from, because you got to understand the idea that if you're out there and you're saying, well, you know what, if I have 7 out of 10 things on on this property that I'm putting an offer in, it's an existing home, that's great. Yes. Because you know what, you're not going to get the 10 out of 10. You're going to have to fix that other 3 things that might be your dream home or ideal home. Yeah. And you know what, you can go in and you can say, well, I'm going to talk to a new builder. And again, there's nothing wrong with people out there trying to buy a new home, but man, you're paying so much money for that. And you're paying such a high cost for things that, because I can design my own home, because I want, you know, shutters, or I want this doorknob, or whatever it is, you're talking thousands of dollars.
And it also depends, you know, your position in your life. I mean, if you're just a young couple starting off, you might want to start off with a secondhand home, because here in Vegas, you're probably going to end up flipping that property into a bigger property anyway.
So let's start off with this, Chuck. You know, New Village Cliffs, that's opening up in Summerlin, will have 1,700 new homes in 11 neighborhoods, including Regency. Okay, so you looked at the situation over in Summerlin. Yeah. We talked about this, you know, in the past. The square footage for homes in Summerlin is how much right now?
It's you're averaging. It starts off, the lowest I've found for new homes is 150, and that's just one model.
Start.
That's just a start.
See, that's phenomenally high. And I'm going to tell you right now, I remember days. This is not too long ago, maybe a couple years ago, and I know things have changed a lot. But I mean, we're talking, you know, 90, 80, 100, you know, square foot homes. That's what the cost is. Yeah. And now we're at 150 start. Yeah. And that's for new homes. So, yeah, it's great that you're getting a new home, and it's great that you're buying a really good location. And you know what? Some people out there, they don't care about money. Yeah. And that's fine. You can go into it and you buy your house and you're in, and that doesn't matter. Yeah. But for somebody out there that maybe is that middle class to upper middle class person that just wants to upgrade, they want to go from, hey, you know what? We've had the starter house, you know, we've had a couple kids. Now we're going into the next level of life. Yeah. It's going to be very difficult, or not difficult, but you're really missing out that there might be something else out there too, that if it's not a new home, there might be, like I said, a diamond in the rough that you can get into that's an existing home, and you might have the ability to put in a strong offer and get it in this market. We told you that down payments are lower right now.
Yeah.
People are getting offers accepted by putting lower down payments. It's lower from last quarter. Why would you not entertain that idea as well?
Yeah.
You know, and I would really broaden my horizons as far as what my overall picture of where I'm going to be trying to buy. If Summerlin's what you want, great.
Yeah.
But realize that, you know what, there might be other homes in, say, Green Valley or Southwest or something, you know, wherever, Rhodes Ranch. These properties that are out there, they really have value, and they have most amenities that these new homes have.
Yeah. Now, I want to break down the statistics with you, okay? And this is the data that I pulled from the multiple listing service since yesterday. Just in Summerlin alone for new, used homes, okay, we have a total of 308 properties currently listed, okay? Now, the average is around $290,000. As we go lower on the price point, okay, the days on the market is about 30 days and less. So there was actually only one property that was on the market for $160,000, but it sold within 2 days.
Right.
Okay. So you're going to pay a premium out there.
Okay.
And it is in demand at this time. So the average, okay, that's currently listed is $550,000 for a used home.
Wow.
That's the average.
That's the average.
That's the average.
Wow.
Now the median is $337. Okay, so we're starting off at the $155 a square foot. But remember, when I told you about the new homes, you start off at $155 a square foot. That was only one model that I found in Summerlin, and in Summerlin we actually have only 15 developers out there currently at this time.
Wow.
And we have a total of 69 models to choose from. Okay, and the starting price is at $325, and that's just that one model match. The average right now for a new homes is around $500,000, and these are base prices. What I'm talking about, not including the incentives.
Wow!
So you're not moving in at the prices that we're talking about today.
Yeah, that's bare minimum starting off.
And
wow.
keep in mind, if you're doing financing, you got to come up with the additional money.
Yeah, we talked about the incentive part of it. You know, they give a lot of incentives for financing. Hey, we're going to cover closing costs. Hey, we're going to give you and pay for your appraisal. A lot of times,
you're really paying for that.
Yeah, because a lot of times on that good faith estimate, you know, they don't disclose all the closing costs. So when you do get it, you're like, wow, that's really what I'm paying for it. So it's actually more than what I thought.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. But you're already 2 feet in and you don't have an opportunity to back out. Your home's already built. It's already been structured to what you want.
Yeah.
And you're looking at it going, well, I can't get out of it now.
Yeah, and you're not going to, because the down payment on these things, you're putting a pretty big chunk.
Right.
So once you have a fully executed contract, the chances of you getting that money back are very slim. And that's why when we sit down with our client, we got to break this down and explain to them that, hey, we go into this deal. If you're moving forward, you're moving forward all the way.
So I want to say this, you know, if you're somebody out there looking for a home, we're not trying to deter you away from going and buying a new home. That's not the purpose of us telling you this. It's to educate you on what is the difference, and you have to model whatever your goals are around what you're going after.
Yeah.
Okay, there are pros and there are cons to buying a new home. So some of the pros to buying a new home is that, you know, you get it custom built, everything's in place, heaters, you know, plumbing, everything's there. You know, you have new construction material. You know, everybody on buying a new home knows that it's move-in ready. You know, there's not going to be any issues for a few years probably.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to have any worries about, oh, my God, you know, do I got to change this or do I got to worry about this going out? But there's a lot of cons. And, you know, what you look at is brand new homes typically cost about 20% higher than existing homes.
It's like buying a new car. As soon as you pull it off the lot, there goes the appreciation.
You know, we talked about those amenities that add up. You know, there's a ton of amenities that they try to throw at you that really, when you come into play, all of a sudden, you're like you said, the base price of whatever that home is, you might be paying $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 more than what you thought you were going to pay.
And that's coming out of pocket.
And guess what? I got to provide that financing on top of that. So now you got to even approve for more. The other thing is that you have upgraded features and things that really are heavily over cost as far as what you're paying for them. I mean,
retail.
You know who really benefits off those is those construction companies, because they're really the ones that's overpricing those amenities and things, and then they're making a mint off it.
Yeah.
You know, so, and then, you know, the other thing too is you got to look at the fact that, you know, the architectural detail and the charm of many older homes, a lot of them are cookie cutter these days.
Yeah.
You don't have those homes that are custom, that not saying that you know, they're not custom to you, but they're not like the old style home. They don't have the land. They don't have, a lot of them don't have that one story, because what they're trying to do is just slam, slam, slam. Let's put a bunch of properties right next to each other so you can look it over at your buddy that's your neighbor. Well, and you can wave to him while you're watching the TV, and you can say, hey, did they score?
Hey, you should just move right next door to me.
We'll be high-fiving from each house, right?
Now, I want to give you a quick tip when you're buying a new home, and if you're going to go through the amenities, don't spend the money on the refrigerator or granite countertops. One of the things I want you guys to do, the listeners out there is listening to this, is spend the money on the necessary things first, as far as like the flooring. That's where you put the money, okay? Also, like the electrical system, if you want recessed lightings, make sure put them in the places where you want them, and also the cable lines, because at the end of the day, once those items are sealed and the floor is laid down, then you can come back and get custom kitchen cabinets or whatever you want at that time.
And the last thing I want to say is this. You know, I grew up in, I'm not going to say I grew up in an old style home, but I grew up where I had a backyard. You had trees.
Yeah.
You know, you had things that you remember as a kid. And when you have new homes now, they're a lot smaller than old homes are.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's so generic in some ways, because you don't have those memories you had, let's say, when you had a traditional home.
Yeah.
And you had a backyard, and you're playing football in the backyard, or, you know, you're playing tag, or I had a basketball court in the backyard. You have those memories, where I think with homes now, they're really, it's all just, I'm not going to say it's poor, but you sometimes don't get that same element. And you don't get that same feedback and those same memories. Let's say if you had a home with a backyard, you can put, you know, something in it. So, again, it's not saying let's not get a new home, but realize what you're paying for. And I would look at the idea that, well, what's out there that's existing first?
Yeah.
And if you don't find everything you're looking for, 7 out of 10 things that you're looking for, then go buy that new home and structure it yourself, but you'll be paying more for it in the long run.
Now, keep in mind, it doesn't hurt to look at new homes, because when we take a client out, we'll look at new homes and we'll look at used homes too as well. So that way you have a general idea and you can weigh your own pros and cons to it.
Are you ready for the lender versus realtor face-off? I am ready for this, Chuck. I think we did battle last week. I really think I won. I don't know if Doug was all there last week, but we tried.
Dougie?
So I didn't, Dougie. So I didn't want to say, Doug, who won that one? So I just wanted to flow with you and say, let's just go to next week.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the lender versus realtor face-off?
Yeah, I'm always ready.
Let's do it.
Fire it off.
All right. So you have a property that has an earnest money deposit that's a high earnest money deposit. Let's say it's $150 to $200. How many times have you been in?
Hold on.
No, listen, that's per day.
Okay.
That's per day. All right. That's a lot. So let's say if they every day that they don't close, there's $150 or $200
you're talking
per
about
diem.
per diem. Okay.
Yeah. If you have a per diem on this, right, and you have this go through and you don't close on time, all right, how often does that happen? And can you get out of it? And typically, does the buyer or the seller of the property want to keep those funds?
That can happen, but every deal I've done, I always get that money back. Or what we do is we just get the deal done, because at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense for the seller to, you know, close out on that deal, try to pull that money and put their property back on the market, knowing that, hey, these are what the issues are, and we're about a couple days out. Let's just get the deal done. And typically the seller would just say, hey, let's just get it done.
So they don't keep the earnest money deposit, is why I was starting it off. They don't keep that. Like, let's say if you don't close, they don't just say, I'm just going to take it.
That can happen, but I always step in and fight for my clients, because I'm going to give you a quick tip now.
Yeah.
When you have a fully executed contract and EMD is open with the title company, okay, if there's a dispute, okay, what happens is that third party company, the escrow company, will send out 2 forms that both parties must sign off. Now, if the buyer doesn't sign off, the seller's not going to get that money. So that property's still tied into escrow. So we always work something out to get it done. Okay?
Fire off.
Now, are there certain circumstances when buying a new home for a borrower with the loan process?
The only thing you have to wait for is the completion of the property. Everything else is the same. You'll start getting these email notifications from the builder, like this has been done, this has been done, you know, the client's given the earnest money deposit. The process is the same, but what happens with a lot of builders is that they think like, well, because you've already talked to the client, that we can get this done in 15 or 20 days, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
It's not saying that we can't. But what builders got to understand is just because you got a property that's been, completed, we're not going to be able just to complete that in 15 to 20 days and guarantee that.
Yeah.
So it's always good as if you're in a position where you do have a new home, and let's say you're working with me or another lender, you always want to say, look, I still need the full time frame once the property is completed to get that done. So when you have a home that has issues from a home inspection, we've been talking about home inspections. What is the process of you canceling the deal?
Here's the thing. Before we even go into a home inspection, I'm going to tell my clients right off the bat that this home inspector, their job is to find everything that is wrong with the property. And code consistently changes, okay? They will always find something wrong. At that point, the buyers understand that. Now, once we get back to report, we're going to go over those issues together and see, are they major problems? Now, if there are major problems and we want the seller to pay for it, we can always ask and negotiate the seller to pay for it. If they choose not to, the buyer does have a right to cancel out, and we'll get the earnest money deposit and move with a different deal, okay? Now, can you actually roll the additional costs of the upgrades on a new home into the loan? Let's say if you're only qualified for $300,000, and the base price is like $290, but they added these upgrades, now it's at $330.
Yeah, but you have to qualify.
So you gotta qualify.
You gotta qualify for that loan. And you know what? That could be a deal killer, because if you're saying, well, I want to get, French doors, or I want to get doorknobs that are $500 a piece. You know what I mean? That's what happens. Then you might have to say, well, I got to do away with that, and I'm just going to get the generic or the basic just to get the house.
Got it.
All right. So how many new homes are delayed with closing, and what is the average turn time to close on a new home from your standpoint right now?
From the building process, it typically takes about 6 months. It just depends if it's completely done. Sometimes we'll go into a deal where they fell out of escrow with another buyer, and we can actually come in and close it within 45 days. So it just really depends.
Wow.
Okay? One of my questions I want to ask about foreclosures.
Yeah.
If you got your home foreclosed on,
right?
Okay. Or if you had a BK,
okay,
can you explain to the listeners out there, when can you actually obtain another loan?
Well, BK,
break it down.
BK, you have a Chapter 7 is 24 months for VA, and it's 24 months, for FHA.
Okay.
All right, that's from discharge date. Now, we have a program, and this is what I was thinking. We have a program that can allow you to get back into it after 6 months, but you're putting 30% down. Now, foreclosure is different. Foreclosure requires 36 months for FHA and only 24 months for VA. But you know what? We have that program after foreclosure that you can get into a home loan right away.
Yes.
And you can put 20% down with a 680 score, or you can put 25% down if you're a 600 score or higher. So that's important. So I want to say one thing. I want to tell you that, in this market, housing supplies have tightened up a bit across the U.S. And if you look here in Vegas, things they're not as tight, because you still have properties out there. Rates are still low, even though we're increasing every single week.
Yeah.
But we do have the ability to still look at the overall picture of, 60% of homes are still seeing below asking price right now. And, that right there, that's the reality. The bottom line is the sellers need to know when the market will pay, and where is that even keel of where that property value's at, so you can actually have the ability to sell that property at the current market value.
You're absolutely right.
And I think that's a big deal. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you is, I want to tell you about the free things. Free things that we give to this show only. All right. Only. This is only to this show. So our top 5 free list things for this show. Are you ready, Chuck?
I'm always ready. Break it down.
We get a free CMA.
Comparable market analysis. If you're a buyer or seller looking to buy or sell property,
right,
it's going to give you the breakdown of what that property's worth.
We also give a free appraisal and a free home inspection.
Free.
Together. Okay. We've talked about the values of 700 to 800.
Together.
We've also free credit services if your credit needs help. I provide free credit services department. I have it. I call people on Saturdays sometimes. They're calling me going, you know what? That whole plan you put together, 3 to 6 months, I'm ready.
But that's a great service, because you actually have clients and you'll call me and say, hey, this person's ready. And this is somebody that we spoke to like 7 months ago.
Yeah. And then we have a free consultation for everybody out there. I'm going to tell you something. If you go out and you talk to somebody and you have the ability to get education, have the ability to find out what your options are. If you're a renter out there and you're saying, well, should I buy? Should I have a mortgage versus rent? Even though rates are still going up, it's still cheaper in a lot of situations to have a mortgage and to pay a mortgage than rent. And until it gets to that point, you always got to look at the idea that, well, why am I paying somebody else's rent? Why am I paying somebody else's mortgage? And the average rent goes up 3% every year. Why would you not want to get on a fixed payment if you have the opportunity? Again, this is Dan French with Nova Home Loans, and you guys make this show. If you want a free mortgage assessment on your current loan, or you have any questions regarding financing or real estate, give us a call outside studio, 781-6682. We put this show together to make you smarter home buyers and smarter home shoppers. This is Dan French with Nova Home Loans. We'll talk to you next week.